Welcome to Trading Lounge and the Asian Report. We'll be studying the ASX in a bit of detail and then we'll quickly move over the other Asian indices. With the ASX200 here for the weekly Elliott Wave count, we've got this wave 4 here, and then we're looking for wave 5 up here, and we're looking for 5 waves in terms of 1 and 2 here, and then 5 waves here for the strong third wave here, the 4th wave, and then the 5th wave coming into our next target area in the bigger picture is 6,500. However, we need to get support on group 1 here, which is 6,300 to get to there. So this move from wave 4 to wave 5 here, it can be counted in a couple of different ways, but I've got a bit of a hold on the sort of intraday count and the move coming up through here. The bigger count here can be counted in a few different ways, so we'll go in and investigate that. So going from the weekly chart to the daily chart here, so we have our wave 4 here, and it can be counted in the blue here in terms of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 here, and then moving up for 5 here, which will probably be a bit higher than 6,300 here. And in this case here, we would see we need to count a 5-wave structure from this wave 4 to this wave 5, and once that's finished, then we would see an ABC correction coming back down for wave 2 and then moving higher into wave 3, which would obviously take us much higher than the 6,500. The other way to count this here is also having this wave 1 here over here. I've just got it dulled out a little bit here, but having this is wave 1 and wave 2 here, and we're going up for the 3rd wave. That's possible, but this particular structure within here, I can only really get 3 waves out of it as 1 and 2, and then 5 waves in this sort of strong move here for a 3rd wave, and then the 4th wave moving back. So I think we'll just stay with this particular point here. I mean, the other side to this too really is that we could use this minor wave 1 here and minor wave 2 here, and then minor wave 3 and minor wave 4 here, and then minor wave 5 sitting up here, finishing the whole structure from 4 to 5 here. But I don't think our banking sector's actually finished with a run up, as I explained last time with CBA in the bigger picture. On the monthly chart. So, and we want to see how those banks perform on those current lows at the moment. So just moving in here, we really want to just sort of, because we're pretty much day trading this or trend trading, whichever you choose, so we really need to understand this little structure in here. So because I can count this in a couple of different ways in the bigger picture here, it means that I've got it labeled differently in here. It's not that it's labelled differently. It is and it isn't. It's the count is the same, but I might be using a blue wave 1 or a green wave 1, but there's still the count is the same. So let's just go in and have a look at that for a moment. It's not going to tell us much, that chart, so I'll just drill in a bit further. Okay, so it's the count that's more important, and there's a couple of there's 2 little points here that can be made. It's this from this current high here, how far the market can pull back. So I've got 2 targets that it can pull back to. So roughly around the 170. It's not a big deal, but 150, and then there's another one a bit higher. I think it's around the 170 mark, and we'll look at that. So there's a slight difference in here, but this count to the upside in this is the tightest possible count here. So this has been the most conservative here. So we can have wave 1 here and wave 2 here, and wave 1 here and wave 2 here, and then 3 and 4 and 5 here for the 3rd wave, and then the 4th wave pulling back 38.2%, and in fact we don't need that there now. So these dashes here are just the old highs, and quite often we see the market come back and test those old highs and then move up from there. So this is a very conservative count here. On the 2-hour chart, just drilling in, still the conservative count here, still the same count, but still pulling back into this area here. The 1-hour chart here is a little bit more it's a little bit different in this particular instance here. So in this instance here, we can look at the market pulling back to this wave 4 here. So in this instance here, we would really just come back into group 2 here. So within group 2 here, there would be basically 5 waves in here. You can see the strong third wave in the middle here. So in a consolidation for the 4th and down into the 5th. So we can see some sort of correction that's going to happen, bounce, support. It won't pull back up that high, I don't think, but we'll see. But some sort of consolidation around the 6,200, and then a move down into this group 2 area here, and then a move up from that point. So in terms of being for the long trade here, we would be looking for, would have to wait until we got that first high above the level here, and then we can look at that being the long trade there, and so on. Of course, once this gives us 5 waves here, 3 waves here, and 5 waves here, we can buy here, but it may end up only rallying up a certain point and then coming down to the 150 area here. So you'll need to be a little bit careful about this. So normally I find when the market doesn't stop at a level here, I call it the overshoot pattern. So there's really 2 types of patterns. There's the overshoot and the classic trading levels pattern. And with the classic trading levels pattern, there normally is there is also a slight variation on that. But when we get a situation like this here, where it doesn't sort of react here, it has a little bit, but those reactions are really from this, not so much a reaction from this number, but really just running out of breath here and finding support on top of group 2 here. So when a market just moves straight up through here, the distance it moves up is normally the distance we can look at it moving to the downside here. And it's quite an interesting little pattern really. So is that about right? Yeah, that's about right. So we could look at it coming down to this point here. And what normally happens is that, so when a market sort of pushes up straight through a level, the distance that goes above this level will be the distance that goes below it, and then what happens is it kind of moves. It uses this number here as the magnet, the strong balance point within this, and then all the lows and highs start to sort of fall into this sort of number, and when it's finished, then pushing up from that point. So that said, we're looking at China here. So with China, we're looking at from this wave 3 here, we're looking at wave 4 here, and then then we're looking for a move down here. So from this wave 4 here, we're looking for wave 1 and 2 here, and 3 and 4 and 5. So just on the 4-hour chart here, picking it up from this wave 4 here, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here for this wave 1, an A and a B and a C, pulling back up 61.8%, and then 1 and 2 here, and I think this is 1 and 2 in here, and a 3 in here, and a 4 in here, and a 5 in here to come down to this particular, pull that up there so we can see the price a bit better, and those numbers there. So there's still all of this to go here for this. So if I had to draw this out here, yeah, this has got further to go down, so probably down into here, here, something like that. So we'll just stay short there. And the Hong Kong market, that's working nicely. So We're also short here, and we can brought the stop down and took 50% profit here because we didn't know what was going to happen here, if we would get a bounce off these lows. But it's worked its way through, and we can see that it still has further to go down now. So we can still move the stop down here. Still want to keep it above this level here for the time being. Let me just have a look. I mean, we've got wave 1 and 2 here, and we got 1, 3, 4, 5, or it could be pretty much to a low here actually. That could pretty much sort of be it here. Maybe there's another 4 and 5 here. So yeah, I'll have a look at that in a bit more detail, but we'll be right for the time being because the US markets are bearish as well. So the Nikkei here, we're still expecting it to move lower here as well. It had this higher rally here, but still expecting it to take out this low, or at least come back down to it here. And the Nifty here's kind of on track as well. We were looking at this being an impulse wave here, 5 waves. So we're expecting 3 waves to the upside here. And so we've got those 3 waves. It still could be an impulse wave to the upside, but yeah, but we'll just stay with this here at the moment. We'd only turn bullish here if we had 10,800 as the retested resistance. So in a nutshell, if you're counting this here, then we'd be looking for a little 5-wave sequence in this little space here before we see an upside on this. So this is pretty sort of clear here. It's okay to be short. If the 800 becomes support, then we need to be on the long side at that point. But in the meantime, we'll just hold in this bearish mode with the other markets in Asia, except Australia really, for this to move down. All right, I think I'll just leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Cheers.